Well, good morning.
Good
Welcome to
morning.
YouTube Sunday morning. Uh, we are here as we try and do before the Oscar season with Adam-Troy Castro and Lou Berger. So, Adam, Lou, it is a pleasure to have you.
It's as always a pleasure to be here.
So, um, I will just say, Lou, what do you got to say for yourself this morning?
I'm just excited to have been invited to join my friend Adam and my friend Bob together to talk on Sunday morning about movies, especially because tonight is the Oscars. We have to get to watch the Oscars and all the speculation and the hype and the media, blah, 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 about what movie's going to win and what movie's not going to win. I think it's important. Hey, Cheryl, I think it's important that we talk about these movies, but also, Adam, I'm curious about what movies you've seen lately that have really changed your heart or really brought a tear to your eye or really impacted you in some way. So we don't have to limit the conversation to the Oscars. I'm curious to see what you have to say.
Well, the most recent movie I saw was just yesterday. I saw Dune 2,
Um,
and I also saw the Zone of Interest, which is one of the Oscar movies, and we'll talk about that.
yep.
Um, I will see. I will see all sorts. I just don't like having my time wasted. Is the
Yep.
best way of putting it. And I welcome rough subject matter, difficult subject matter, because it's difficult for a reason. It's chewy. It's chewy, and I may walk away from the movie theater being a little bit different than I was, and I always love that.
What about Zone of Interest really hit you?
To explain Zone of Interest, which is one of the Oscar nominated movies for Best Picture and also best um, best foreign film, is that it is set in the home of Rudolf and Hedwig Hess, um, the commandant and wife of Auschwitz. And their home is adjacent to Auschwitz. It's just outside the gates. They could see the guard towers from their backyard. They have a lovely little home with of course, free servants and a swimming pool with a slide and a wonderful garden. And every day they get deliveries of things which have just been taken from people. And to Hedwig, it is an absolute a paradise of a place to live. And um, the movie has no drama in it except for one scene. It's about the life they live there and the banality of it and the joy of it and the comfort they feel, even though at every given moment the sounds of the camp are coming over the wall. Um, People yelling, people screaming, um, the train coming by several times a day, constant gunshots, things like that.
Mhm.
Uh, the smokestacks billowing soot. Uh, and this is just the home she does not want to move away from when he gets transferred. And it is astounding because she knows 100% what's going on over there.
Yeah.
Absolutely knows 100% and is just not bothered by it. It's just incorporated into her life.
With a
And
third, go ahead.
it's the anti Schindler's List, in other words.
With a third of Americans now believing that the Holocaust didn't actually happen, why does this movie have such an important place in our society?
I wish it had an important place in our society.
Yeah.
I don't think it does. I think this will be one of those movies that the people who watch the Oscars, who generally have seen one or two movies, will say, "Oh, why did they nominate that? I've never heard of that. Why not Fast X?" You know, but I wish it had more to do with today's society. But I can tell you that among those of us who know about this and contemplate this, um, movies that actually show the atrocities are probably a better primer for learning about what happened. And if they then want to argue that it didn't, that's up to them. But this movie is this movie is the more advanced course. This is what it was like to incorporate this into your life, as a total cooperative person. And it's
Good.
just absolutely amazing.
What else do
at
you
one-
think?
yeah. At one point, by the way, we see the two teen boys are sitting in their lying in their bunk beds at night. One of them's playing with a with a flashlight. Says, "What are you playing with?" "Oh, Daddy gave it to me. They're teeth."
Mhm. Teeth with golden
Yes,
teeth, and they
golden teeth.
reflect in the flashlight. How delightful! How
Yeah.
delightful! Did you ever think about where those teeth came from, little boy? I don't think so.
Mom thinks about it. Mom, mom says, Mom has a great discussion with her sister. Uh, I wonder where my Jewish neighbor is. Maybe she's over the wall. She probably is. She probably is. I remember her. Somebody else got her curtains. I tried to get her curtains, but somebody else got the curtains.
Yeah, I watched Schindler's List once. And my dad's mom's family, all of them who lived in Poland during the 1939 and thereafter, strangely stopped sending postcards to the
Yeah,
American relatives,
my
and then
grandmother's
continued
family. Mhm.
after they refused to send postcards. It's because we found out, to our horror, that they were no longer there.
Yeah, yeah. Um, you probably know this about Judy. I think Bob does not. Judy was fourth cousin to Anne Frank.
No kidding.
Yeah. My sister-in-law's bat mitzvah portrait is frightening.
Yeah, I can
Okay,
imagine.
but yeah, so
Yeah.
he
Now,
came from the part of the family that came to the United States. They came from him, not me.
yeah. Well, if you come to the United States, maybe you'd still be around. Tell me about your thoughts for tonight's Oscars. What are you looking forward to? What are you hoping wins? What do you think is going to win despite your hoping?
I think it's an extraordinary Oscar list. There have been Oscar lists where movies that should have been nominated, and there are Oscar lists where you could see from a distance that something very pre-chewed, something very basic, do Driving Miss Daisy winning over Do the Right Thing, for instance, is going to happen,
Yeah.
or Green Book a couple of years ago. I don't think that's the list tonight. I think it's very much a lot of challenging movies. Some of the great ones are going to go home without a prize,
Mhm.
and it's just going to happen that way because all the deserving ones, other ones are also deserving. I think it's going to be a disappointing night for Barbie, for instance, probably. Yeah, I mean, to get to a point where Barbie was one of the movies and where Barbie is now a dark horse, that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
it's
an
amazing.
amazing list.
It was an amazing movie. What did you like about that movie?
What I liked about Barbie is, aside from the fact that it was very, very funny, it was also very, very pointed. Um, some people said it was basically pointed, that it harped on things, and I said no, but they could have made a stupid movie about Barbie having adventures, and it was about something. And I always prefer a movie being about something. Um, and Helen Mirren got the greatest line as narrator ever. Best narration um, since Matt Damon in the Informant. Best narration. He got This is not the point you make when starring Margot Robbie. That is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the people got mad at the Oscars for not nominating Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, by the way, for Best Director. And I'm sorry to tell you this. That's not a conspiracy. There are lots of great movies, and you have more Best Picture nominees than you have in any other category. So things are going to get left out. If by one person somebody likes another movie more, Barbie falls off the bottom of the list to 6.
Yep.
And there are plenty of good movies for women this time out. Fantastically so.
What do you think was left off the list that maybe should have been there?
Okay, well, there's one that I directed you to at one point, Fair Play. Fair Play is about a couple that's involved romantically while working for a financial company that doesn't allow them to be, and she gets the big promotion. He does not,
Mhm.
and their relationship slowly turns toxic over the course of 2 hours. Stars a wonderful actress called Phoebe Dynevor. Phoebe should have been nominated for Best Actress. I don't think she was snubbed. There are a lot of Best Actresses.
Yeah.
She should have been nominated, though. And the movie should have been nominated. I don't have the slightest idea what movie I would have taken off to make room for them. Since this movie is just a Netflix movie, did play theatrically, should have been seen, should be seen. Everybody look up Fair Play with Phoebe Dynevor. You saw it, right? I told you to see it, right?
I don't think I did.
Okay, well, I'll put it on your list.
I'm going to. with The Insider. Folks, he talked to me earlier about The Insider, which is on the same par, you said, as Spotlight and All the President's Men.
Well, that's an older movie. Yeah. That's Michael Mann from a couple of decades ago, but you should see it.
I will. Absolutely will. What else? What are you thinking about Best Director?
Okay, let's go to that. I have the list here. Okay. That's cinematography. I'm scrolling to get it.
For folks that aren't aware, I am sharing in the chat, I'm sharing links to Adam-Troy Castro's movie still of the day, which is available on his Patreon. I subscribe to it, and I learn quite a bit. Even if I have no intention of seeing the movie, I learn quite a bit about Adam's love of cinema and how it translates into a lifetime of having watched movies, having crafted story himself.
Yeah, well, the good movies are good story are good story lessons, and when I'm telling people about story elements, it's easier to talk about movies because more people have seen them. Okay, Best Director, and I may mispronounce a couple of these names. The nominees are Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest, which we've already talked about, is a splendid movie. Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall. Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon. Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer. Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things. And I adore all five of these movies, and it says a lot to me that of this list of five, I think Martin Scorsese is the fifth.
I know, right?
Okay, he's and Martin Scorsese is nominated a zillion times. He's a great director. He got criticized mercilessly for this movie because, unfortunately, it happens to be historically true. The criminals who committed the murders he made the movie about, they were the active characters. They committed the murders. The Native American, the Osage, endured. And there's a lot of that in the movie, but it's hard to tell that story without telling you what the criminals are doing.
Yeah.
Or just having it be a mystery that is solved near the end, But I think it's a standard, excellent Martin Scorsese movie. It is not the best of these five. If he is nominated, it'll be because it is thought that he deserves one, and he does, but not as much as Christopher Nolan does for Oppenheimer, which is a splendid, difficult historical movie that doesn't climax with the explosion. Anatomy of a Fall is a murder case that is about what we perceive and about and actually has the solution to the crime in the film if you look close enough.
I didn't notice it. I watched it with Kelly, and I didn't see it.
I will tell you after this because I don't want to spoil. But that's a wonderful film. Most of these are long films, and I have no problem with the length of any of them. The Zone of Interest I talked about already.
Yep.
But I think the best directed film of these five, and I will not be upset if any of these artists win, is Poor Things, is an astounding work of dark comedy about the female condition, and deserves multiple Oscars and is currently in my running for Best Picture. But I think Nolan will win. He's deserved one for a long time, and I think that one is going to steal the spotlight tonight.
I'm looking forward to it. My kids are coming over. We're doing Sunday night dinner. We're looking forward to watching the Oscars. My daughter's not as interested in movies as my older son is, but he's very interested. He got a degree at film school here in Colorado, and so
Mhm.
he's very much into plot and shots and directing and
Mhm.
angles and light and all that sort of thing.
Since we may not go down that far, I'm just going to say, by the way, that um, uh, Zone of Interest should win the Sound Prize.
Okay, tell me
I
why.
think Oppenheimer will, but Zone of Interest should win the Sound Prize because the constant, distant background sound of gunshots and trains coming in and screams and so on and so forth
Right.
is just wonderfully designed. It tells the whole story.
It's there. It's constantly there. It's in the background, and I think the horror of it is that for these folks that are living just the other side of the wall, not literally, but close enough, hear these things and are completely unmoved by them. They become no more than birdsong, or they
Yeah.
become no more than the sound of a plane flying far overhead. They become background noise, unrelated to their lives, untouched by their empathy.
Yes. Um, I believe there's a boredom problem with the film because the film is very carefully about mundanity.
Mhm.
And people who are not taking in the whole thing may do the standard refrain. Nothing's happening. Everything's happening.
You just need to listen,
Yeah, pay attention.
pay attention.
Yeah.
All right, tell me about Poor Things. Tell me about, you said, and because we're two guys, here we are. Hey, we're guys. But you said it talked about the female experience, the experience of being a woman. Can you
Yeah, this
go a
is
little
one.
bit deep?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, can you go a little bit deeper on that?
Poor Things is a Frankensteinian story
Mhm.
about a infantile young woman in the body of an adult. There is a science fictional explanation for this involving a mad scientist played by Willem Dafoe, and she goes as played by Emma Stone. She goes from infancy, toddlerhood, to becoming a very formidable and powerful young woman. But she makes the discoveries about sex. She makes the discoveries that men exploit. She is exploited a while. She learns about social injustice. She learns about wanting freedom. You see her learn about dancing. The moment she learns about dancing is splendid, and she becomes a very formidable person in the course of the film, which is also a great comedy and sometimes heartbreaking. Wonderful production design as well. And at the end, she comes to terms with her origins um, in the face of a very bad man. And she is serious enough, she is powerful enough, wise enough, strong enough to deal with him wonderfully. Boy, the people who talk about woke are not ready for that movie. Um, and I think it's one of the very best, two or three best movies of the year, as far as I'm concerned. Certainly
I had
number two or three on the ballot.
I had posted recently on my wall, very little response, about woke and how woke is just human beings sick and tired of being constantly relegated for spurious reasons to being less than.
Yeah,
And it's a natural knee-jerk response. You can't hold anybody under your thumb too long before they squirm out from underneath and they're mad about it.
I responded to somebody who talked about the Neil Gaiman's Sandman series, the TV series.
Mhm.
Um, I tried to like it, but immediately it was woke. And then came the next scene, and there's even more woke. And the next scene, there's even more woke than that. And next, I says, okay, let me translate this.
Yeah.
You saw a black person. Then
Yep.
in the next scene, you saw another black person.
Mm,
Then in the next scene, you saw a gay person.
the
Then in the next
horrors.
scene, a woman said something. Then the next scene, you saw another black person. And this is blowing your mind. You can't take it. You
Yeah.
can't take it. This is what you disliked. Now, if you disliked them so for any other reason, I have no problem with you. But the woke uh, is a when used as an epithet is the word of profoundly frightened and infantile people.
Yes, absolutely. It stems from fear. It's fear of the other. It's like the whole immigrant thing, right? It's
Yes,
fear of the other. I get it. I totally get it. Like if you're not Native American, if you're not an Indian living in in this country, then your ancestors were immigrants. Why do you hate immigrants now? You're here because of immigration.
yes, yes. And and frankly, which is why the word immigrant being such an evil word today is just horrible. But movies,
Movies. All right, so let's talk about movies. Movies are the catalyst of change.
yeah,
Movies change society,
they
and
respond
they
to change as well.
guess who's coming to dinner, right? We have,
Which today feels like an awful movie.
yeah. Well, look how far we've come. And are we done? No, we're not done. We've got a
Yeah,
long way to go. But um, of these movies and the shift in the Academy's been nominating, just like with the Hugos and the Nebulas. You see that there's a shift away from folks like you and I. And we've talked about this privately offline about how does it feel to not be in the running for some of these awards. And is the work that we're doing worthy? Well, we probably think so because we're proud of what we do. But at the
yeah.
same time, do you think it's a bad thing or do you think it's something that's a long time coming?
I talk about the fact, since you seem to have segued to the science fiction awards, I think about the fact that my Oscar nomination, not my Oscar, my Hugo nominations were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I had two in a row, and my Nebula nominations are none more recently than about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I think about this, but I also think about the fact that the nominations were taken from a very small group of short stories from the science fiction magazines,
Mhm.
where we were a limited number of people. People looked the same. We went years with just whites,
Yeah.
um,
White men.
white men.
Yeah.
A few women, and the fact is that the walls I have to climb now as a writer who wants recognition
Mhm.
are taller. And that is rough on me. I admit it's rough on me, but it's a gift to me as a reader. Oh my God, what a gift.
Yep.
What a gift. I mean, that fact is just amazing to me. And I think that's a great thing.
I agree.
And
I,
I think it's true of movies as well. Um, I mean, the funniest thing about you mentioned Guess Who's Coming to Dinner is that imagine how goddamn stupid that drama would be
yeah.
if the Sidney Poitier character were played by Troy Donahue.
Mhm.
Dad, this rich 40-year-old doctor who works for the UN, brilliant award-winning doctor, wants to marry me. No, I refuse.
No way. I'm not doing it. Are you crazy? In the heat of the night. I watched that recently for the first time. I had not seen it before. I think you mentioned it to me. Yeah, I watch too many of the things you tell me to watch, and I always enjoy the experience. Even if I don't necessarily like the movie, I like knowing that I'm watching something that you found value in, and it colors my perception. It makes me think, I'm not liking this. Why did Adam like it? And then it makes me think. It opens my
Yeah,
mind. So thank you. But Heat of the Night, where he slaps the guy in the greenhouse, that was powerful at the time. It created such an uproar.
it's powerful still
Yeah,
because it's immediate.
yeah, yeah. Because he was being treated less than as an equal, and he gave back what he got, and that was shocking because his skin had more melanin.
Yes,
Shocking.
yes. The script, he was not supposed to do that.
Well, they talked ahead of time, right?
Yep.
Rod
No,
Steiger and they
Poitier
talked.
said no, no. This guy would slap him back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Let's go back to the nominees for a second, so we get some more of the movies described. Name a nomination.
Oh, cinematography.
Cinematography. Okay. Interesting. You're going away from the majors. Okay, so hold on. El Conde, which is The Count. It's a vampire movie.
Mhm.
Um, it's South American vampire movie in which the vampire is the dictator Pinochet. Uh, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Any one of these would be a spectacular win. I have no idea. Um, I noticed that two of them are black and white movies. Maestro, as much as many people hate it, had wonderful black and white cinematography. Um, Oppenheimer had wonderful cinematography. Poor Things, they were all great. So I wouldn't say that this is a wide open category.
What did I did not find Maestro in your movie still of the day. I looked for it. I didn't see it. Did I miss it, or have you not yet done it?
If I did it, I forgot to. If I didn't do it, I forgot to do it. But there was also a period where I wasn't doing tagging. Okay, because I
Oh,
lost the ability to tag for a little bit. Um, Maestro is the story of a man,
mhm.
not necessarily a musician, and the music, of course, is wonderful. Um, I think I agree with people who said it wasn't more about his career, um, but I think it was very well acted. I think it was very well directed, um, very well shot. Um, but it's down. It's a splendid movie. I'm glad I saw it, but it's down the list this year.
Okay. Anything else about the Oscars tonight that you want to talk about?
Well, the best picture, of course. I think best visual effects.
Mhm.
The categories for best visual effects are The Creator, Godzilla minus one, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon. The only one of those I didn't see
I haven't seen
was
it either.
Napoleon.
I bet that would be great. It looked from the trailer, it looked like it was immense production value.
Ridley Scott films always look beautiful. They're not always good.
Yeah.
Um, they're frequently good, but they're not always good. Best visual effects include two low budget movies, Godzilla minus one and relatively The Creator. I think Godzilla minus one should win.
Mhm.
Uh, Certainly, I think the best Godzilla movie ever made, and the only Godzilla movie which is an art movie, which is amazing.
I haven't seen that either.
It's a,
I watched the Godzilla movies on television when I was a kid. But this one is a work of art, you're saying.
it is an absolute work of art. It is about Japan in the in the days after World War II, where Tokyo has been flattened, and Godzilla comes in and he's destroying the place, and the focus is on the mushroom cloud he leaves behind him, and and the first 45 minutes of it is just one guy living in the wreckage with a woman he's met and a child, and it's really all about survival. And I've never seen a Godzilla movie that was this much of a, for lack of a better phrase, and oh God, I'm going to get slammed for this, respectable movie. Okay, I mean, Godzilla movies are mostly uh, they're tawdry. No, they're not. You know what I mean when I
Yeah,
say
yeah,
this.
I do.
It's they're not art movies. This one is.
So it's interesting because I was still thinking about our shared love of science fiction, our shared love of movies, and how science fiction began as stories to popcorn stories, cotton candy stories written for
Mhm.
13 to 14-year-old boys who are on the cusp of puberty, recognizing that there's more to the world than their own navels and girls. How swell. And then for a long time science fiction was considered as, trash, pulpy. It's like just a step above comic books, right? And
except when it was except when the author was respected, in which case it's not
That's
really
the
science
point.
fiction. That's something that book reviewers
That's the
still
point.
do.
Is like that's a science fiction novel, but it's filed under literature, kind of like in American fiction, where he's mad because his book is under somewhere else in the bookstore than where he thinks it should be. He thinks it should be literature, and they have it under black
Yeah,
exploitation or black experience or whatever.
yeah,
We haven't
yeah.
talked about that movie, and I do want to. Um, but
We will.
but we have
Um,
turned science fiction from the pulp, the tawdry stories designed for young teenage boys into something so much more grand, something like The Martian, something where it's art. It's become art,
mhm.
and frequently, if you look back over the last decade or so, best pictures of the year include science fiction movies that are astoundingly well
Yes.
done. So to me, as someone who read the golden age, Asimov, Clark, Heinlein, etc., and now continue to read into the 21st century when, by God, we should have flying cars, and yet we don't. To see the art,
Mhm,
like you mentioned, the walls have gotten higher. And to see the art that's coming out today, the storied experience of
mhm.
humanity that's not limited to
Yes,
what a 13-year-old boy might find
absolutely.
encouraging, it's revelationary, and it changes my entire viewpoint of humanity.
Hmm. And I think it dominates. It dominates, and unfortunately, some of the it doesn't always dominate with the best stuff. But I think there's always it's always
Yeah.
represented. Um, as far I think there's only been science fiction film. One science fiction film has ever won
Was it
Best Picture.
2001?
No, it was not. I don't think it was
See what I'm
nominated
saying?
even. But no, I'm talking about um, Everything
Mhm.
Everywhere All at
Yeah.
Once, and two horror films. Only three westerns have ever
Okay.
won. So many more musicals and stuff like that. If I can, let's go to
Okay.
screenplays. Screenplays are actually the format for these, and then
Okay.
best actors. Okay. Um, Best screenplay is always split into two categories: best original screenplay and best adapted screenplay. Okay, um, and sometimes there's a gray area, as there is this year. Best original screenplay: Anatomy of a Fall, Justine Triet and Arthur Harari. Um, the Holdovers: David Hemmingson. Maestro: Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer. Only four nominees this time. Um, I think Anatomy of a Fall. Well, when you talk about all four, Maestro, of course, is the Leonard Bernstein picture. Which, May December, I saw a little bit of, and I stopped watching. I didn't love it. The Holdovers is a great relationships picture about a teacher and his student. And Anatomy of a Fall is that murder trial whodunit, which slips, as I said, slips in the solution to the mystery. Um, and I think Anatomy of a Fall is the best of the four, best of the three that I know. It just is. It is a very it is a murder mystery that is about more than itself, which is the gold standard for murder mysteries,
Yeah. Yeah. I
when it reveals more about.
I agree. I saw it and watched it all the way through the end and couldn't figure out definitively in my mind, in my autistic needs to know the answers brain. I saw it and I couldn't figure it out. In retrospect, I think I know who did it, but I won't mention it here. We'll talk about that offline. But I thought that it was a slow, very careful peeling an onion, and the peels are razor thin. Sometimes there's a sentence made that's a big revelation, and it goes right by as if it was nothing special. But the mind is like, oh, that means that my thought about this is no longer verified, no longer true.
It's also a great movie about writerly angst.
It's like so many of these movies, like
Yes.
American fiction. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's see. Best adapted screenplay: American Fiction by Cord Jefferson, which is our opportunity to talk about it.
Hmm.
Barbie Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan. Poor Things, Tony McNamara. The Zone of Interest, Jonathan Glazer. And again, 5 great nominees. I don't have a definitive preference in this category. I do think, I mean, I have the one thought. It would be nice if Greta Gerwig got recognized for her screenplay, which was a very amazing accomplishment, taking this bubblegum popcorn movie and making it about something, making it a movie that basically saved the movie industry each year. That's amazing. Oppenheimer, wonderful biography, about more than it's about, which is wonderful. The relationships, the treatment of Mrs. Oppenheimer, as played by Emily Blunt, wonderful. American Fiction, which we'll talk about in a second, and again, I've already talked about Zone of Interest. Poor Things, based on a novel, is a fantastically inventive screenplay, especially when it plays with the language. She speaks her own language for a while, her own dialect, and it's wonderful. If you want to write down the things she says because it's different grammar. It's just wonderful stuff. Yep. Maybe Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach should win in this category, just because they're going to probably be left out of another category.
Yep.
So there's that.
American Fiction.
I
watched it and I was angry at the ending. And I have a friend.
You're supposed to be, obviously.
I know. I'm supposed to be upset about the ending because look at me. I watched it and I didn't like the ending because I thought it was trite. I thought it was kowtowing to validate the expectations. And I was explaining to a friend of mine who is an author. And I had said, I want to talk about this with you. He lives in Atlanta. He is not white. I'll just say that he's not white. He's a fellow author. I wanted to talk to him about the movie. And he said, what did you think? And I said, I think they took the lightest skin color, person of color in this show, in this movie, and they made him effectively a white guy. He's well spoken. He doesn't use any patois. He's angry because he wrote a great work of literature. And so anybody watching the movie who isn't woke at all, let's say isn't woke at all, has no concept of empathy for anybody that's different. They just live in their own bubble and they go on. That person would identify with this character. This character was designed specifically to be oblivious to how people of color live their lives. Mm-hmm. But his family sees him for who he is. Everybody else sees him for who he is, as being this kind of guy. He says, well, why can't we lift ourselves up by our bootstraps? We have the same opportunities as everybody else. All of that stuff, which you hear often from people who don't have empathy for anybody's experience but their own. And so at the end, when I said, I got mad, and I'm typing this out in Facebook Messenger, I'm mad because it was answering the very thing that, like, this is the movie that would be successful because they have to end it in that way. They have multiple endings at the end. My sister refuses to see the movie. She read up on it and saw that one of the 3 endings has something that she doesn't want to see. Mm-hmm. So she's like, I'm not going to watch it. And I said, but there are 3 endings, and each ending is important because each ending is key to the narrative, the story that was being told. And as I'm writing this to my friend, I realized why I was upset. And the reason I was upset is because of who I am. It's because being a white, straight male in America, I wanted this character to have a glorious ending that's different than what people who lump all people of color into a single box, they expect to see, because that's all they are good for. And I said, oh, I now realize why I'm upset with the ending, which means that the movie worked.
Yes. And it's a marvelously thought-provoking movie. Mm-hmm. I think it's one of the best movies of the year. I just don't think it's one of the top 3.
That's amazing. Talking about how high the walls
are. The walls are very high. I mean, there were some years like, oh my God, they nominated nothing but shit. But this is not that year.
Right.
Okay, so la-da-da.
Holdovers. The Holdovers. What were your thoughts about the Holdovers?
No, I like the Holdovers very much, and it's a showcase for God, I'm drawing a blank on the name. Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
So it's an absolute uh, uh, absolute showcase for him. Um, she's among the best actresses, but she's also very good. Folks, I'm not racist. I couldn't think of Paul Giamatti either, but
Davine Joy Randolph.
Davine Joy Randolph, yes. She she's very good, and I want to talk about her performance when we get into the acting categories.
She is nominated for, and I hope wins, Best Supporting Actress.
Mm-hmm.
I hope she gets it. And I've read online where folks who are experts in Oscar predictions say she's got a really strong chance. And I watched that movie. I loved it. From the minute that the trailer came out, you and I, we are of similar age. You remember the 1970s movies trailers that came out with that deep voice guy, in a world, one man, one dog, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So we saw that. And so I watched that trailer in the theater, and it had in the lower corner copyright MCM LXXVII.
Yeah.
So it was 1978. It says copyright 1978, but it's right there in black and white. It's in the trailer. It's at the bottom. And the whole trailer was built just like they built 70s trailers. Now they're much more sophisticated, but they were so formulaic back then.
Yeah.
And I watched this and I couldn't wait to see it. And it really, really resonated. The whole movie, the way it was shot, the production values, the cars, the period pieces, the unspoken attitudes between the various characters. I loved this movie. And I thought that there were three strong characters: Giamatti, Davine, and the new kid, whoever the new kid is.
Yeah, it's a very good movie.
Yes, Liam, Don LaFontaine.
The Inner World, the Inner World guy was somebody, Don Fontaine, I think is
Don LaFontaine. Yep.
Yeah, Don LaFontaine. And any movie he owned that phrase, Inner World. He
did.
He was that guy. He was that guy. Let's see. The acting roles. And then we'll do Best Picture, because I think we're running out of time.
We've got 18 minutes, and
okay.
I want to open up for questions in 8 minutes.
Okay. Best actor in a leading role. Bradley Cooper, Maestro. Coleman Domingo, Rustin, the only movie of the bunch I haven't seen. Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers. Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction. 4 to 5, 4 great performances that we know of. I've only seen 4 out of the 5. I would not be upset if any of these guys win. I think Cillian Murphy has a strong possibility. I think Paul Giamatti will get a career Oscar for this, quite possibly. Bradley Cooper is out of the running, although his impersonation was terrific of Leonard Bernstein. And we talked about how great Jeffrey Wright is. He also is long overdue, so he could also win, the long overdue Oscar, and it wouldn't be an insult. It wouldn't be a injustice if he got it either. My prediction is probably Giamatti or Murphy.
Yep. And that echoes with the things I read online about those folks who choose these things with a great deal of experience. So as you have such experience, you echo exactly those. It's going to be between those two is the consensus.
Now, I wish I knew Rustin, but I don't. That was Best Actor in a Leading Role. Best Actress in a Leading Role.
Yeah.
Emma Stone, Poor Things. Okay. Carey Mulligan from Maestro.
Yep.
Sandra Huller in Anatomy of a Fall. Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon. And Annette Bening in Nyad. Lily Gladstone, who was the female lead of Killers of the Flower Moon, was pretty much anointed Best Actress winner when the movie came out.
Yep.
That And although I don't say this in a negative way, the historical significance of her winning also give her a very strong performance. I mean, she she is warm, she is sexy, she is angry. She has a look where she just quietly looks at Leonardo DiCaprio, and she is the Mona Lisa, and she is wonderful in that movie. And so it would not be a disaster if she won. I think she should. But you could say this of everybody on this list.
Yep.
Sandra Huller, Anatomy of a Fall, plays the defendant in the murder case in that movie, and she's also Mrs. Hess in.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She's also Mrs. Hess in
Zone of
The
interest.
Zone of Interest.
Mhm.
Two completely different roles, and people may see both movies and not realize it because she doesn't get any close-ups.
Okay.
There aren't many close-ups in anatomy in The Zone of Interest, but she's arguably a murderer in one and definitely a murderer in another. But she's a wonderful actress, and maybe the love for one movie will push her onto the other. You know, will push her. She's very much a dark horse, though. Carrie Mulligan was very good in Maestro. I love her. Everybody loves her. I don't think she stands a chance this year. Annette Bening in Naiad gave one of the most difficult performances of the year because she plays Diana Naiad, the long distance swimmer.
Cuba to Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, Cuba to Florida, makes 5 attempts, and Annette Bening became a long distance swimmer over the course of a year in order to be in this movie. And it's a very physical role, and she is fantastic. I think she deserves to be in this list. As a legacy role, she may win. She's won before. I would not get angry if she won. I think she's very much a dark horse, and everybody's a dark horse next to Emma Stone. I mean, next to Lily Gladstone and Emma Stone.
Yeah.
Emma Stone may feel it. Yeah.
It's one of those two. She did. I watched her in La La Land, and I thought that was the best acting I think I've ever seen. Her transformation from one scene to the next was just pure art, and I love that.
And you want to see transformation, see Poor Things.
Yeah, I got 10 minutes into it, and then I was rudely interrupted. But we will talk about that another time.
Okay. Yes, rudely interrupted. Okay. Best actor in a supporting role. Why are we even having this discussion?
I know.
Everybody deserves it, but there's a definite person that needs to win it. Sterling K. Brown, American Fiction, the troubled brother. Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yep.
Always great, never not. Well, sometimes not. Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling in Barbie, Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things. Yep. 5 terrific performances. Yep. They all deserve to win. Yep. The doubt left my mind immediately that anybody but Robert Downey Jr.
Yep.
is going to win. He's been nominated a few times before, all before the Marvel era.
Yep.
Most memorably as Chaplin. But I think the chance, it would be a real upset if anybody other than him won.
Real quick, 2 movies we talked about offline. I wanted to share them with the folks. Talk to me about The Caterpillar and talk to me about Wing Women.
Okay, these are not nominees, but Caterpillar is a Japanese film from a bunch of years ago about a Japanese wife who must take care of the husband who has been rendered mute and limbless because of injury in World War II. Mm-hmm. And he is an abusive husband even as this invalid. And it's amazing, and it's just a 2-person show, and it's just absolutely devastating drama of the cost of war. And Caterpillar, what was the other one?
Wing Women.
You could talk about Wing Women. You loved Wing.
I didn't see it.
I told you to see it. Wing Women was the. Wing Women was. You did see it.
I have not.
Wing Women was about the women holding a heist.
Oh, I did see that.
I thought you did. You talked to me about it.
Yeah.
You objected to the ending.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a very incredibly fun movie, and
That was fun.
go in blind. That's all we need to say.
That's right. No, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, I like the fact that it was subtitled. I like the fact that it wasn't made here in America, and that the characters, the actress, I was familiar with the main characters, actress, and to see her in that role, which was dramatically different than I'd seen her before, was just fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a buddy movie, except they were all women, and they were each other's wing women.
And wonderful heist film, and some great weird character side treks. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It was on Netflix. I don't know if it still is.
You've talked during this 50 minutes, and we're coming into the end here, often about how the movie was about more than it was about. And I wanted you just to reflect on that for a second and kind of summarize why that's important to you. Because are you at a point in your life like I am, where we've been consumed with reading and absorbing and then creating story for so very long that if it's a straight linear story, it's kind of like, yeah, we've seen it, been there, done that, have the t-shirt? Or is it something else?
I feel more nourished. Let's lack of a better phrase. There are movies I walk out of, and I feel that I've gotten on a roller coaster and I've come out the end of the roller coaster not changed at all.
Yes.
And I like the feeling that something has touched me inside. I like the feeling that I had room for thought. I like the feeling that I have perceived levels of meaning that are deeper than in the film, that are deeper than the Wikipedia description. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And all great movies, I think, are about things bigger than themselves. Now, this does not mean they have to be meaning with a capital M and italics and boldface, Tom Casual. No, it's it means that it means that thought has gone into more than who's going to win the car chase. And I'm easy about that. I think the Road Warrior gives you more than that. You know, it's just something that is. Something that is that leaves a mark as it leaves.
Yeah, in a good way.
Yeah,
in a good way. Laura Mendez asks, why do you think that great acting in science fiction or fantasy is often overlooked? Is it just the genre? They do the same to blockbusters at the box office often. Do you agree with the premise?
I do agree with the premise. Sally Hawkins gave one of the great performances in The Shape of Water.
Yes.
And Joaquin Phoenix gave one of his best performances in Her.
Yes.
It just is. It's a problem. But on the other hand, there's a nearsightedness among science fiction fans too. That they don't see the value of all that has gone around them. Of all the other movies that come out at the same time. Yes, I think Pan's Labyrinth probably was one of the two best foreign films that year, and people got upset that it didn't win the best foreign film Oscar. But the Oscars did not disappoint when they gave the award to the company. I think it was called The Company of Strangers, the German film that came out that year.
I don't remember.
Well, it was a great film. It was one of the greatest films of the year, and it's a film I still treasure very much, even if I cannot immediately remember the title, being an old person. But we tend to give overemphasis to our own stuff. Yes, Bruce Willis was great in Die Hard, but it was not the best performance of the year.
No.
Yeah, so I'm closing. A chat thing popped up.
Do we have another question? Nobody? All right. Well, we have 6 minutes left. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I'm not here to shut you guys down.
Oh, okay.
Want
to go overtime? I have no problem. Go ahead.
Oh, you guys keep talking till you're done. But
okay.
I was I mean, we all have our favorites. I have to say, having seen most of the Best Picture movies this year,
Mhm.
I haven't heard you guys say much I can disagree with, except for my favorite for Best Picture is and is going to be American Fiction.
Okay.
I
What what puts it head and shoulders above the others for you?
do what?
What puts it head and shoulders above the rest for you? What gives it that extra little oomph that takes it to number one?
You asking me that?
Yeah.
Oh, what I found was that the absolute how do you say it best? It when we were I went and watched the movie, and when I was done with this movie, I was dying to sit down with anybody else who had seen it and talk about it
Mm,
because it so penetrated my psyche that I really wanted to have company with people who had also seen it. And unfortunately, I didn't have that privilege because nobody I knew really wanted to go see it except for me.
mhm.
So I that's what it was. A lot of movies, you sit down after the movie and you kind of talk about them a little bit, but this evoked a fundamental desire to explore the movie a little deeper, to talk about how what you we were seeing, what you saw, and that. Barbie was great. It was, you know, Oppenheimer. I can't say anything bad about any of them. Um, um, but they didn't make me want to sit down and explore the movie the way American Fiction did. Now,
Bob,
it may be just because I'm a writer.
Bob, in an earlier conversation with me, you mentioned that American Fiction was loaded with Christmas presents, and that if you only watch it once, you can't help but leave the theater with many of those Christmas presents unopened. That in order to see them and appreciate them for what they are, you have to go back and watch it again, at least once more.
Yeah.
What kinds of Christmas presents did you get out of the movie that really touched your psyche?
Well, character. Uh, the characters continuously um, fail to fall into a stereotype. You know,
Which is the point.
well, yeah, but that's one of the great big Christmas presents and how that was done
Mm,
was what I mean. There's a dozen different ways it was done,
yeah.
and that's kind of um, I just I lost track as I was going through, and it just made me want to see it again. But again, that's just my uh, uh,
Yeah.
take.
Okay.
Okay.
We have 2 minutes left. Is there anybody who's watching who wants to ask a question? Anybody? If so, go ahead and type it in. In the
Well,
meantime, Adam and Bob, I can't tell you how much I have enjoyed being invited to be part of this today and be able to talk with both of you guys. I
well,
respect you both. I think you're giants in my esteem, and I'm just thrilled. So thank
let's
you.
get one more thought out of Adam, if I can. I mean, you've got so many of them. I mean, it's like dipping into a bucket of gold. Um,
Thank you.
the but there was one of the movies I was reading about that I haven't seen, and it was Poor Things.
Oh wow, are you in for a treat?
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
go.
it's a great, it's a great uh, visually sumptive uh, fantasy about a woman's life, uh, modeled a little bit on Frankenstein, set in a fantastical steampunk world, um, with great performance by Willem Dafoe, great performance by Mark Ruffalo. Um, and just gradually you see this woman come to life and discover the world around her, and it it has a little horror tinge, and it becomes incredibly uncomfortable at about the 2/3 mark, and then stays there for a while. Um, I think, to my mind, it's one of the three best movies of the year. And if I could say so right now, I think the best picture will go to um, Oppenheimer, uh, or Poor Things, or um, Barbie may surprise us and win, as some say it always should have. Um, that is most often said by people who've only seen Barbie, but um, but I think it's probably going to go to Oppenheimer, and I would be delighted if it was Poor Things. And oh my God, to be delighted that such a great movie as Oppenheimer comes in second.
Yeah.
Oh, deservedly. Wow, how great would that be?
Well, I have to admit my prejudice with Oppenheimer. I spent my career in the nuclear industry. I mean, I've walked in some of those buildings. I stood at the crater um, wall, edge of the craters. I mean, it's so I wasn't as absolutely awed by Oppenheimer as I probably should have been.
Mhm.
But the and not having seen Poor Things, but having read about it, and if I recall, it did really good in the British awards.
Yes.
Uh, and so I wanted to get your take because I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people who've never heard of it, never seen it, um, are going to say, "Huh?" when it knocks out some of the blockbusters.
What would really knock people out if it would be if the if the zone of interest won. What the hell are they trying to impress us? No, it's a very impressive movie.
Yeah.
It is. It usually it often happens in the Oscars. Some movie wins that nobody's heard of. Um, uh, it very much and and it's because we've seen all these movies. A lot of people who root for one movie have only seen that one. Um, but and Susan Amber Caro is correct.
Oh, good.
She made a comment. Has
Yes,
anyone read? No.
I was hoping that I was just getting ready. I was looking back for her comment because I wanted to find out. I haven't seen that movie either, but dogs are scene stealers.
Yeah. By the way, the dog, Mrs. Hess's dog, is Sandra Huller's dog. I thought it was a great performance by the dog. It followed her around the whole movie.
Yeah.
It does.
Uh, the wow. So, guys, this is where I will say thank you all very
Thank you for
much.
having me. I had a great time.
And we will be back here next week with Cliff Winnig and his guest, and whom I'm not sure who is right off the top of my head. My head's old.
Okay, I got to interrupt for a second. Okay,
Go ahead.
just putting something. Cheryl Alexander, I love you. I'm not getting on your case. Okay, A House on the Edge of Auschwitz. I mentioned that the woman has a dog, and you said, "Does the dog live?" I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
For God's sake, think about that.
Yeah.
Yes, nothing bad happens to the dog, but
Well,
think
thank
about
God.
that.
Oh, there are people. I will swear to you, if the dog doesn't live, they will not go see the movie.
That's right.
I'm working on a work in progress right now that's got 3 different people have dogs. I've made it perfectly clear to every one of the writers, the dogs live.
Yeah.
And either of you ever read Mark Tufo?
No.
Mark Tufo is an incredible human being, an incredible writer. When he's not putting together R2D2s, he's raising bulldogs. He
Mhm.
loves bulldogs. And in his books, he writes books about the zombie apocalypse. And he's got a bulldog that can't walk 50 feet without getting winded.
Yeah.
And so you open the book and oh, the dog's gonna die. Mark Tufo takes care of that dog like nobody's business. He dives into a room full of zombies to grab it and pick it up and charge his way out carrying his dog. Dogs dogs can make and break scenes, and for the Mark Tufo character, and it's Zombie Fallout is a series, by the
Mhm.
way. And the dog survives, and it's a bulldog, and he actually wrote a spinoff from the point of view of the dogs. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, he's a marvelous guy, and he I'm gonna have him back on because I had him on with David Gerald one time,
Yeah.
and Mark was talking about all the rejection slips he had gotten over the years, trying to break in. And David, David's got a deadpan delivery.
Right.
Yes,
David
it does.
looks to the other screen and says, "Rejection slips.
What are
I've heard
those?
of those."
He's such a dick. I
I
love
don't
him.
get, well, I don't, they largely don't exist anymore. Rejections exist. Rejection emails,
Yeah,
not rejection
slips.
slips.
Yeah,
Dogs are angels provided to us to teach us how to be better at being humans, and we constantly fail because their efforts are without attempt.
I can tell you this: since I got dogs,
Yeah.
I find myself being a better human.
Yep. They teach us.
Lou, of course, fosters dogs, and
Yep.
and he's a demonstration of that fact. So,
Okay. Well, so someday we're going to have to do a dogs in science fiction, and I will have to get Mark for that one.
That
But
sounds good.
say goodbye, folks, because we're getting
Goodbye,
ready
folks.
to end the stream.
have a
Thank
good
you
one,
all.
folks.
Thank you, everybody.
Enjoy the
Bye bye.
Oscars. See
Now,
you
hang
all.
tight. I do have